Okay, so picture this. You're 4.5 hours into a spacewalk, wrestling with this faulty cooling pump module on the International Space Station.
Yeah.
And suddenly this urgent call crackles through your comms.
Oh, wow.
It's about your crewmate Paolo working on the opposite side of the ISS.
Oh, no.
And he's unresponsive.
Oh, jeez.
What started as, maybe a suspected CO2 sensor issue has now gone silent.
Oh.
So your mission instantly shifts to immediate rescue.
Wow.
And I think it throws into really sharp relief just how inherently dangerous every single spacewalk is.
Yeah, I mean, right from the start, it's that pivot that's so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
One moment, you're focused on these intricate repairs that are vital to the station's survival. And the next, it's this high-stakes emergency hundreds of miles above us.
Yeah.
And it really does underscore the point that EVAs, or extravehicular activities, as they're formally known,
Right.
are never routine.
No, they're not. And, we see those amazing pictures, those incredible images of astronauts floating against the backdrop of Earth. It's awe-inspiring. It's a chance to be truly outside our world.
Right.
But, the sources we've looked at, they really emphasize that these spacewalks are only undertaken when absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Think critical equipment replacements like this cooling pump module, the literal lifeline of the ISS.
It's true.
And it's always a two-person operation.
Yeah.
That buddy system is there precisely for these unpredictable scenarios.
Yeah, this isn't a thought experiment we're diving into.
Right.
We're really exploring the realities of spacewalking through this very personal account of astronaut Cady Coleman.
Yes.
And her EVA training.
Uh-huh.
And her experiences give us such a rare glimpse behind the curtain, way beyond that Hollywood gloss.
Right.
To understand the intense preparation and the execution that these tasks actually demand.
Exactly. So the mission for this deep dive is to understand what it truly takes to become a spacewalker.
Yes.
What are those unexpected hurdles? What's that rigorous training? What's the specific mindset required to overcome them?
Yeah.
All through the lens of Cady's journey.
Yeah, and I think one of the first things her account brings to light is that contrast.
Okay.
Between that seemingly effortless way that spacewalkers are often portrayed, gliding around with ease.
Right.
Versus the much more deliberate step-by-step nature of actual EVAs.
Yeah.
The mantra slow is fast comes up repeatedly.
It does.
Why is that so essential?
It sounds counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Slow is fast, but the key insight here is that by slowing down, by being meticulous and intentional in every movement, you're actually minimizing the chance of errors.
Right.
Rushing in such a high-stakes environment almost guarantees mistakes.
Yeah.
And those mistakes will inevitably cost you more time.
Of course.
And potentially much more.
Yeah. It's a principle that really resonates, I think, far beyond spaceflight, too.
It does.
When you think about it, any complex task where precision is paramount.
Absolutely.
And how do astronauts actually get from point A to point B during a spacewalk?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a free-for-all up there.
Yeah. No, forget the personal jetpacks for routine work outside the station.
Right.
Movement is highly controlled. They rely on this system of tethers.
Okay.
So there's this primary safety tether, this 90-foot line that acts like a retractable leash, keeping them connected to the airlock.
Okay.
And then there's a shorter waist tether, which is about 3 feet long,
Okay.
which they use to anchor themselves securely to handrails at their work site.
Yeah, these handrails essentially create these pathways across the exterior of the ISS.
They do.
As the source material describes.
Yes.
The fundamental rule is make before you break.
Exactly. You never release your grip on one handrail until you have a solid hold on another.
Right.
The same principle applies to the tethers. Always secure a new one before detaching the old.
Yeah.
So it's a hand-over-hand movement along these rails. They call it translating. And you might be oriented in any direction, upside down, sideways.
Right.
But that make before you break rule is absolutely non-negotiable.
A safe movement, absolutely.
For safe movement.
The source uses a really vivid analogy comparing a spacewalker to like an inflatable cartoon animal.
Oh, yeah.
In a parade, tethered and bumping along.
Yeah.
It really brings home that point that, graceful, unrestricted movement just isn't the reality.
It's not.
And then you have the spacesuit itself.
Oh, the suit.
This bulky, multi-layered personal spacecraft.
Right.
It severely restricts your movement.
It does. Your field of vision is limited unless you physically turn your entire body.
Right.
And those hefty boots and that oversized helmet definitely impact your agility.
Yeah, you also have to be constantly aware of that safety tether.
You do.
To prevent it from snagging on anything.
Right.
Which could cause significant delays or even necessitate this risky procedure to cut it free.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to that gripping opening scenario.
Yes.
The unresponsive Apollo.
Right.
And it turns out that wasn't an actual in-flight emergency.
It wasn't.
But a very high-stakes training exercise.
Right.
The incapacitated crew rescue.
Yeah. What's the core purpose of this particular simulation?
I mean, this simulation is a critical gatekeeper for EVA qualification.
Okay.
The instructors need to see if an astronaut can effectively rescue a fallen crewmate within a 30-minute window.
Wow.
To make it as realistic as possible, they deliberately run this simulation several hours into a training session.
Oh, wow.
When the astronauts are already fatigued and operating at their limit, both physically and mentally,
right?
The aim is to replicate that intense pressure of a real emergency.
Yeah, and where does this incredibly demanding training take place?
Yeah.
It's not exactly practicing in zero gravity.
No, it happens in the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, or NBL, located in Houston. Picture this, a massive swimming pool, almost half the size of a football field and 40 feet deep.
Wow.
And submerged within it is a full-scale replica of the International Space Station.
Full-scale replica?
Yeah, in sections, like a giant submerged Lego set.
That's incredible.
The concept of neutral buoyancy is really the key to this whole training environment.
It is.
Right.
In the pool, the spacesuits are meticulously weighted so that they neither float nor sink.
Right.
This carefully calibrated buoyancy mimics the weightless environment of space. Now, it's not a perfect simulation.
Right.
You still have water resistance.
Yeah.
And some effects of gravity within the suit itself.
Sure.
But the NBL provides incredibly valuable practice for these complex procedures of a spacewalk. And it is the closest we can get on Earth to that feeling of working in space.
Yeah, and the rescue simulation, with all its pressure and emotional intensity, it's designed to mirror the extreme challenges of a real off-world emergency.
It's fascinating to learn that not every astronaut even qualifies for spacewalking.
Yeah.
And even those who do aren't automatically assigned to missions that include EVAs.
Right.
It really highlights the specialized skills and dedication required.
It does. The source material mentions some early, almost whimsical experiences in EVA training.
Okay.
Involving pool toys.
Pool toys?
It seems like an unexpected detail.
It does. So apparently during Cady's very first EVA training session back in 1993, she brought along some fun pool toys, a red plastic lobster, a beach umbrella, and a shark bathing cap.
A shark bathing cap.
It was her way of injecting some levity into a potentially tense situation.
I love it.
And these toys actually became a bit of an inside joke within the training group.
Oh, wow.
With divers occasionally wearing that shark cap.
Oh, that's great.
Or finding the lobster tucked away in the underwater toolbox for years afterward.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It really humanizes that astronaut training experience, even amidst the high stakes.
Yeah, but the journey to becoming EVA qualified wasn't always smooth sailing.
Right.
And the sources point to some ingrained assumptions about who would excel in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. There seemed to be a tendency to pre-select who is perceived as having the right stuff for spacewalking.
Right. Often, even before they'd set foot in the NBL.
Yeah.
This group often consisted of taller, longer-limbed, athletic men.
Yeah.
And Cady felt she wasn't initially seen in that light.
Yeah.
However, she was incredibly determined to prove those perceptions wrong.
Yeah.
And she emphasizes just how physically demanding EVA training was.
Oh, yeah.
Wrestling with these unwieldy suits and heavy tools that didn't always cooperate underwater.
Right.
It required immense dedication, countless hours of practice, and hundreds of hours submerged in that pool.
Hundreds of hours.
Hundreds of hours. And this brings us to a really critical issue highlighted in the text.
Okay.
The significant challenge of ill-fitting equipment, specifically the EVA spacesuits.
Yeah, this seems to have presented a major obstacle, particularly for astronauts with smaller builds.
It was a really significant hurdle.
Yeah.
Initially, there were 4 sizes of these highly specialized EVA suits.
Okay.
Small, medium, large, and extra large.
Got it.
These suits, unlike the more familiar orange launch and landing suits,
are essentially sophisticated personal spacecraft with 11 engineered layers providing life support and protection.
Wow.
The small size actually provided a reasonable fit for Cady.
Okay.
Although even it was designed with a male physique in mind.
Yeah.
However, NASA made this programmatic decision to eliminate the small and extra large sizes as a cost-cutting measure.
Oh, wow.
With the rationale that they wouldn't be needed for International Space Station missions.
Okay. And what was the direct impact of that decision?
Yeah.
It sounds like it disproportionately affected a specific group within the astronaut corps.
It did indeed.
Okay.
The elimination of the small suit effectively excluded 8 female astronauts at that time.
Yeah.
Nearly a third of the total number.
Really?
From being eligible for EVA assignments and consequently for long-duration missions to the ISS.
Wow.
These were highly capable and skilled individuals, but they were simply too petite to safely and effectively operate in a medium-sized suit. The irony, as the source points out, is that when some male astronauts couldn't fit into the large suit, NASA reversed its decision regarding the extra-large size.
Wow.
But the small size was never reinstated.
Oh, so it was never brought back?
It was never brought back.
Tom Akers, a veteran spacewalker, seems to have recognized Cady's potential.
He did.
Despite this equipment challenge.
Yes.
What was his take on the situation?
He told Cady that he had observed her during pool training and recognized her genuine aptitude for spacewalking.
Yeah.
He even said she had a mind that thinks like a spacewalker.
What does that mean?
Meaning she possessed excellent situational awareness.
Okay.
And an intuitive understanding of how to maneuver in that bulky suit and handle tools in three-dimensional space.
Oh, wow.
However, he also gave her a heads up about the elimination of the small suit.
Oh, no.
And advised her that if she wanted the opportunity to fly on the space station, she should simply assure everyone that a medium suit would be perfectly fine.
So seemingly straightforward advice.
Yeah.
But it really masks this significant underlying problem.
Yeah.
Right. The medium suit, as we understand it, was primarily designed based on male measurements.
Exactly.
And it didn't adequately consider female anatomy.
It did not. And so astronauts with smaller frames, and particularly women, were put in this position of having to figure out how to function effectively in a suit that was inherently too large for them.
Yeah. And this kind of unintentional bias in design and procurement had very real consequences, potentially preventing talented individuals from participating in mission-critical activities.
Exactly.
Let's delve into the actual process of getting into one of these suits for a pool run.
Okay.
It sounds like a really complex and time-consuming undertaking.
It is. The entire process takes about an hour.
An hour.
And requires the dedicated assistance of spacesuit technicians, or suit techs as they're called.
Okay.
It begins with the rather unglamorous but absolutely essential adult diaper.
Okay.
Followed by a regulation sports bra, then long underwear, which helps with sweat absorption and provides that layer of protection.
Okay.
Next comes the crucial liquid cooling and ventilation garment, or LCVG.
The LCVG.
The LCVG, and this looks like a fitted jumpsuit with a network of small tubes woven throughout.
Okay.
That circulate chilled water to regulate the astronaut's body temperature inside this thermally insulated suit.
Wow. And then comes the addition of padding, which sounds particularly vital.
It is.
For astronauts who are trying to make an ill-fitting suit work.
Absolutely. So extra padding, elbow pads, knee pads, thick hip pads, and even a crotch pad would be added.
Wow.
In the pool environment, the purpose of this padding wasn't so much impact protection as it was to help stabilize the astronaut within that pressurized suit.
Right.
Because the medium suit was too large for Cady, she was essentially sharing space with this significant air bubble inside the suit.
Right.
While the suit itself is designed to be neutrally buoyant in the water, the astronaut inside is still subject to gravity.
Right.
And so is that shifting air bubble, which would tend to pull parts of the suit upwards.
I see.
The extra padding helped Cady take up more of that space and distribute that air bubble more evenly around her body, more closely mimicking the proportions of a medium-sized man.
It's fascinating that this creative solution of using extra padding was actually inspired by a suggestion from another astronaut, Kathy Thornton.
It was.
Okay.
Kathy suggested that Cady try wearing a water skiing vest inside the suit.
A water skiing vest?
Which, while initially met with some resistance from the suit technicians, ultimately led to the adoption of this extra padding approach.
Interesting.
It proved surprisingly beneficial for other crew members facing similar fit issues.
That's great.
After the padding, a girdle is worn to hold everything securely in place.
Okay.
Only then comes the actual donning of the spacesuit itself.
Okay.
Starting with the lower torso, followed by the upper torso.
Right.
All with the meticulous help of the suit technicians.
Yeah.
A communications cap is then placed over the astronaut's head, which allows them to communicate with that simulated mission control team underwater.
Okay.
And the final steps before entering the water involve the gloves and the helmet.
Right.
Which completely isolate the astronaut from the outside environment.
And there's a specific protocol for putting on those inner glove liners.
There is.
And then the bulky outer gloves.
Yes. The helmet is the very last piece. And once it's on and the suit is pressurized, the astronaut is completely reliant on the suit for their breathing and life support.
Wow.
These suit technicians are very aware of how potentially disconcerting this can be, even for experienced astronauts.
Of course.
So they always ensure proper airflow before the helmet is fully locked down.
Okay.
Finally, with a rack of tools attached to their chest,
Right.
the astronaut is ready to enter the pool.
Yeah.
Not by jumping in, of course, but by being carefully lowered into the water by a crane.
By a crane.
By a crane.
Once submerged, that training environment shifts dramatically.
Yeah.
What's it like working underwater with that massive ISS mock-up?
The underwater environment is a completely different world.
Yeah.
The ISS mock-up looks like this huge toppled structure resting on the bottom of the pool.
Wow.
And astronauts are never alone down there. They're constantly accompanied by utility divers who provide tools and assistance.
Okay.
And safety divers whose primary responsibility is the astronaut's well-being.
Right.
And rapid rescue if needed.
And these safety divers are incredibly skilled.
They are.
They can extract an astronaut in a 300-pound suit from the water.
Yes.
In just 60 seconds in an emergency.
In 60 seconds.
And the training itself is very focused.
Yeah.
Concentrating on specific tasks that mirror potential maintenance or repair needs on the actual ISS.
Yes. So the core of the pool training involves practicing those repairs of critical ISS equipment.
Yeah.
Things like swapping out pumps, troubleshooting and fixing cooling system malfunctions, rerouting power cables, installing new solar array batteries.
And these 6-hour training sessions are incredibly demanding.
They are.
Both physically and mentally.
Yes, requiring intense concentration to conserve energy and perform the tasks efficiently and correctly.
And, as Cady's account highlights,
yeah,
there's also an added layer of pressure.
There is.
To maintain a cheerful and competent demeanor.
You have to.
Throughout these long sessions.
Yes.
Especially for those who felt they were under greater scrutiny from the outset.
Absolutely.
Given the challenges of the ill-fitting medium suit for smaller astronauts like Cady.
Yes.
What kind of physical toll did these extended underwater training sessions take on her body?
The physical toll was quite significant.
Yeah.
After each pool run, Cady would often discover her arms and legs covered in bruises and abrasions.
Oh.
Her fingertips would be raw and sensitive, and occasionally she would even lose a fingernail.
Oh, no.
All due to the constant friction and pressure exerted within that suit that was just too large.
Right.
She was so intensely focused on the tasks at hand that she often didn't even register the discomfort until she was out of the suit.
Wow.
The fact that the medium suit was noticeably too big meant she had to exert considerably more effort to reach tools, maintain her grip, and execute even seemingly basic maneuvers.
Right.
It was tough.
Despite these considerable physical challenges, Cady developed specific strategies to achieve success in this less-than-ideal situation.
She did.
What were some of her key approaches?
Her approach was really a testament to her determination and ingenuity.
Okay.
It involved this powerful combination of imagination, mentally rehearsing tasks in vivid detail, skillful negotiation with the suit technicians to optimize her fit, maintaining this consistently positive and humorous attitude, and absolutely relentless over-preparation.
Relentless
over-preparation. She made this conscious effort to improve her physical strength, even setting this goal to learn pull-ups to impress the seasoned EVA human veterans.
I love that.
She would meticulously pre-rehearse every step of a task. Practice extensively with the actual tools she'd be using. Create detailed drawings of tool configurations for quick reference.
Oh, wow.
Diligently watch training footage to identify potential pitfalls.
Wow.
Prioritize getting enough sleep to maintain focus.
Right.
And always actively seek feedback from both the divers and the instructors. She also gained invaluable insights from the female divers who had developed their own techniques for working with the heavy underwater tools.
There's a particularly insightful anecdote in the source material about this pivotal debriefing session where a senior astronaut seemed to dismiss Cady's performance. What exactly happened, and what was the significance of her response?
So after one particularly frustrating pool run, where it felt like nothing was going right, A senior astronaut told Cady quite directly that she should never be in an EVA suit again.
Oh, wow.
But instead of accepting this seemingly definitive dismissal, Cady calmly and professionally pointed to her established 10-year record of consistently above-average performance in training, and respectfully suggested that they double-check the configuration of her suit.
Yeah.
It turned out that the arm lengths on her suit had been inadvertently set to an incorrect setting.
Oh, wow.
Which made a significant difference for someone with shorter arms.
Right.
And had directly contributed to her difficulties during that specific run.
This incident really shines a light on a broader tendency, doesn't it?
It does.
The inclination to sometimes attribute mistakes made by individuals from underrepresented groups to an inherent lack of ability.
Yes.
Rather than considering external factors or systemic issues.
Right.
Like improperly configured equipment.
Exactly. And Cady recognized this potential bias.
Right.
And proactively took the initiative to involve the senior astronaut in her subsequent suit fittings.
Oh, good for her.
This gave him a first-hand understanding of the specific challenges she faced. Due to the limitations of that ill-fitting suit, while the suit still wasn't a perfect match, this direct interaction helped him become a more informed and ultimately more supportive colleague.
Yeah, the source material also touches on the internal conflict many individuals face when encountering difficulties.
Right.
This struggle to discern whether to attribute these challenges to personal shortcomings or to inadequacies in the equipment or systems that they're working with.
It's so relatable.
Right.
It's such a relatable dilemma.
There's often this societal tendency to place that onus of failure on the individual.
Yes.
Rather than critically examining flawed systems or designs.
That's right.
Cady shares a brief anecdote about a Russian launch suit. With significantly oversized feet. Where this simple, practical solution offered by a Russian sailor quickly resolved the issue, contrasting it with the much more complex and persistent challenges that she faced with the EVA suit. It really prompts that question.
It does.
Of when is it necessary to adapt and compensate for imperfect tools?
Right.
And when is it more important to advocate for systemic change?
It's a good question.
Big questions.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Cady achieved a remarkable triumph.
She did.
Culminating in her successful completion of that incapacitated crew rescue simulation.
Yes.
How did that final critical test go?
It was her final hurdle. And she cleared it with impressive proficiency, no major errors, and a full 3 minutes to spare.
Wow.
Within that strict time limit.
That's incredible.
This significant achievement made her the smallest person at that point in time.
Wow.
To be selected for an ISS spacewalking team.
That's fantastic. And following this personal triumph, she made this really crucial decision to openly communicate the difficulties and limitations
she did
that she'd experienced throughout her training.
Yes.
What motivated that decision?
Having definitively proven her capabilities and earned her spot on the team.
Yeah.
Cady felt this deep sense of responsibility to openly communicate the specific challenges she had faced.
Right.
Due to that ill-fitting suit, to her instructors and her crewmates, her primary concern was to ensure that the most capable and prepared spacewalker was sent to the station for every EVA.
Of course.
And that meant being completely honest about the adjustments and extra effort required for her to perform effectively in a suit that wasn't designed for her body type. She had spent years subtly compensating and trying to make it appear as though EVA came easily to her. Partly to avoid triggering those pre-existing biases. But now, with a real mission assignment on the horizon, the stakes were simply too high to maintain that facade.
Her journey really underscores this pervasive issue of systemic inequality. Even in fields we might perceive as purely meritocratic.
Absolutely.
And the often difficult choices individuals face. Sometimes feeling compelled to play by the unfair rules in the short term. To reach a position where they can effectively advocate for meaningful change in the long term.
It's so true. And while she understandably wished things could have been different from the very beginning, she recognized that openly voicing her struggles earlier in her training might not have been taken seriously, or could have even jeopardized her opportunities. By excelling despite the challenges, she gained the credibility and platform to then push for a more equitable and effective training environment for future astronauts.
And thankfully, the source material highlights that some really positive changes have indeed occurred since her experiences.
They have.
It's truly encouraging to hear about the dedicated efforts spearheaded by astronauts like Tracy Caldwell Dyson to fundamentally revamp that EVA training program.
Right.
Shifting the focus towards objective skill development and performance metrics.
Yes.
Rather than potentially biased assumptions about which candidates might be inherently suited for spacewalking.
Absolutely. And the fact that all 5 women in a recent astronaut class successfully qualified for EVA assignments, alongside that historic first all-female spacewalk, are really significant indicators of tangible progress.
Yeah, it really is. And the ongoing critical efforts to redesign spacesuits from the ground up to better accommodate a more diverse astronaut corps, considering a wider range of body sizes and shapes, are a crucial step forward.
They are.
The aspiration is that when the first woman finally walks on the moon as part of NASA's Artemis program, she'll do so in a spacesuit that fits her perfectly.
Yes.
And allows her to perform at her absolute best.
What a great thought.
So as we bring this deep dive into the often hidden realities of spacewalking to a close, what are the key insights that really resonate with you?
For me, it's the stark contrast between those captivating images we see and that incredibly demanding, often uncomfortable reality of EVOs. The absolute necessity of rigorous and realistic training environments like the NBL.
It's so clear.
It is so clear. And the significant yet sometimes invisible challenges posed by ingrained biases and ill-fitting equipment, coupled with that immense resilience, adaptability, and sheer determination required to overcome those obstacles.
It's true.
Those are truly unforgettable takeaways.
The real aha moment for me is how Cady's personal story so powerfully illuminates those subtle yet impactful hidden battles and systemic issues that can persist even within highly technical and seemingly meritocratic fields like space exploration.
Yeah, it really makes you consider how often standardized equipment and perhaps unconscious biases might be inadvertently affecting individuals in a multitude of other professions and endeavors.
It does make you think.
It does.
When is it the right time to simply adapt to the existing tools and systems? And when is it absolutely crucial to speak up, challenge the status quo, and advocate for more inclusive and effective change?
Those are tough questions.
Complex questions with no easy answers.
No, they're not.
Now that you've journeyed with us through the intricate details and very personal struggles behind preparing for a spacewalk, how has this changed your perception of astronauts and the seemingly impossible feats they routinely achieve?
Right.
What other unseen challenges might exist within the fields and professions we most admire?
It's a great question.
We encourage you to seek out more of these stories of individuals overcoming adversity and pushing for greater inclusivity in unexpected places.
What a great thought to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
It really has been.